this a valid trade to take for a shallow pullback was what CVD was doing, where it rejects here 11 points, and then as price is getting back up into these limit orders, CVD is struggling to um, make higher highs. So I wouldn't get in here. I would get in like somewhere over here, 66.78 with my stop above 81 because CVD is clearly rejecting the previous highs here.
Yeah.
Um, but the whole thing for me is just knowing what you're taking. Did you see this one occurring in real time?
No, I did. I didn't.
Yeah, that. Eloy, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
What we were just going over, which I didn't go over with you yesterday, because
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize until today, was you know how we say there's like at least one A plus setup throughout the week?
Yeah.
The A, it wasn't A plus, chat says it was A minus, but it was this setup here where the whole thing is price was slowly dropping into demand, and it was a very slow drop. Like, I'll just play it real quick just so you can get a feel for the tape.
You didn't notice the slowness, Eloy? Because I didn't either. If you didn't.
I'm realizing I don't zoom out enough to understand context. Like I just pay attention to the demand and supply zones, and every once in a while I'll try
Yeah, I
to
was
see if
agree.
I'll try to see if I find a
That makes
trend line,
sense.
but I still haven't like fully developed or grasped that.
So the whole thing I was focused on was like just we were comparing the way this selling occurred. Like you can even see the aggressiveness here on this
Outlier.
rejection,
Mhm.
the outlier, and as it was falling, CBD made a brand new low here, and now it pops up, and then as this selling starts to occur, it's very slow versus how this selling was. And as it's coming down into demand, CBD is just slowly just uh it's like a very I don't even know what's the word I'm looking for. Like it's
Crawling.
just slow. Yeah, it's like a stall. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
stalling on its drop. So that alone, just seeing that as it's coming to demand is telling us that the market is when once it gets to demand, don't expect it to quickly react and take off like where it hits the limit orders and then pulls back and retests. When it's stalling like this on the sell off, we're most likely going to get chop inside demand before the setup is actually ready to occur, which is what you see here. It if you're just looking at the candles, it looks like, oh man, this thing tanked. But if you're looking at the speed of the tape, it's like a very slow drop into demand, and then we chop here before the bounce actually occurs. And one of the key things chat said was if you look at the selling here, once we get into demand, it's just wicks. It's like a wick here, wick there, wick there, wick there. But then once the candles start to get real thick, that's when, if you look at the tape, when this thick candle occurs, the selling got aggressive. And once that selling got aggressive, it retested the limit orders at 64.55, and then it finally took off. So the whole thing, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, yeah, this wasn't super A plus, but it was our setup, and it was the setup, the A setup of the week, because it was at a key level, and it retested the limit orders. CBD made a higher low, and what's the other thing? And key level, higher low, and it was key level, retested limit orders, and CBD made a higher low. Just that we have to consider the fact that if it's slow like this, like even as I'm talking, like it's still just super lagging as it's coming down. So by the time it does get to demand, it does get a little faster as it arrives at demand, but even inside demand, like It's just very slow tape. So we have these 6450 limit orders down here. And we also have these 6456s.
When you say very slow tape, the little dotted and green and red line that's moving the price, the little number next to it, is that like like the tell of like slow tape, where like the numbers are slow, they're small numbers, they're not coming in fast?
Say that again?
It's just the speed of the bubbles.
Yeah. Like did you see how it was just lagging to come down versus I'll just show you
Show them the aggressiveness, the aggressive one.
that occurred over here or over here.
The aggressive one that we want to use for the entry to just compare them.
Okay. All right. So you see how it right here, like specifically right now, like it's just struggling to fall. It's like there's no pressure from sellers pushing the market down at the moment versus over here 706. And then even if you look at this right here, you see no real pressure from the sellers. Look at how thin the tape is. And so this is the first test of the limit orders at 6456. And now we're waiting for the market to come back down into here. But if it comes back down and it's still super thin like this, you could put the risk on because it is retesting limit orders, but we'd prefer to see aggressive selling because that's really where the sellers get trapped. Sellers don't get trapped on just some thin little selling here. Sellers get trapped when they're really putting pressure down on the limit order. And you'll start to see the pressure come in right now. Ah, fuck. But even look at how compared to what I was just showing you, how the selling was occurring, you can already see the tape is starting to move at a different pace. It's not super fast, but it is at a different pace.
Also, price is trying to rise while CBD is dropping a little bit.
And look at how right here, this was the second higher low here. So we have, let me just zoom out to point it out. This is the first low. Now this is a higher low. And now as it comes down to these limit orders, it's going to make another higher low. But see how this selling is completely different? Like it's still somewhat stalling, but one, the bubbles are larger. The pace is a little faster than what we were previously seeing over here. Look at that. Look at how it's coming down. Way faster than what we were just looking at.
That's where
and now it's a. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's where you want to like enter around that area when it.
Yeah, you want to see this happen as it's coming down into the limit orders. And remember, like, just because these limit orders appeared here, like, we want the limit orders to be the ones that have been sitting there. Because this could fake you out too, like, oh, the limit orders got thick and they appeared, but that could easily be a fake out. So the first test was right here at about 64.56. And then we seen these limit orders sitting there for a while already. So it's like, okay, I want to see them come down into these limit orders. Look at the pace of it. It's just completely different. Test those limit orders. CBD is making another higher low here.
This is the true aggressiveness compared to the thick bubbles compared to the thin ones on the first drop.
Yeah, and one thing we did point out too was see how here normally what we would want to see is okay, the market hit these limit orders, bounces 6 to 10 points, and then you want to see that pullback into limit orders again. But when it pulls back here, it never fully tests limit orders. It just pulls back, but there's no limit orders that it's testing. It never fully hits these limit orders either. Whereas over here, these limit orders are strongly sitting there. It aggressively falls into the limit orders. CBD is making a higher low as that's occurring. And now you want to see this buying come in. You can either get in here or on this next push. Now, and then this is the move here. But even zoomed out, look at how this selling is versus the selling that was over here. So what chat had said was this is absorption, that this is the setup basically. It's just a different version of it. And the reason we know it's a different version, or how you can be prepared to know that okay, I may have to adjust how I'm taking this trade, is how slow the tape was as it arrived to demand.
So that should be like number one.
Yeah, for sure. Like honestly, it's not even something that I was paying attention to a lot previously, but focus on how it's arriving to your zone. Like if this was arriving super fast, super aggressive selling, dropping and coming down into demand, then okay, once it hits these limit orders, be ready for that bounce. It's going to be 6, 10, maybe even 15 points. That's unless VX is super high. And then once it comes down, be ready to retest that limit orders. But when it's slow like this, how we just seen, be open to the idea that it may chop inside demand before the actual retest occurs.
Yep.
That's
Don't forget to
what
post
we were
it.
going over right now. Oh yeah, I have it right here. Does that make sense, Eloy?
Yeah. Do you think the VX plays a role in more also not just the way it falls into it, like whether it's gonna chop like that?
Oh, that's a good point too.
Yes, that is something to consider, but one thing that would throw me off if I was just thinking about VX was at like 27. So like volatility, I mean, yeah, the volatility is kind of acting the way VX would say it should, because look at how this like swinging of the price is occurring. Like it's not very aggressive, but it is swinging up and down. What is multiple? This is a 10-point
Like a
bounce, 10-point
whipsaw.
drop, 10-point bounce. What?
It's like a whipsaw action.
Yeah. It's whipsaw and it's a large uh range of whipsaw. Like 10 points is what we're targeting a lot of times, and this is a 10-point bounce, 10-point rejection, 10-point bounce until finally you get that move out, which is about 15 points.
I think I think that when this trade happened, I was interested in that retest, but that limit, I mean that demand zone right there, I didn't have it, and I heard you guys mentioning it, and I was like, what? Like, how come I don't have that? And then I charted it, and I started like noticing I must have just set the green line like as that second
Oh,
bounce.
you had barely got it to be your attention.
Yeah. You guys mentioned it, then I looked for it, I charted it, and I was like, whoa, there's like a retest about to happen right here. But I figured like I was gonna get it, but it was also like wishful thinking. Like maybe I wanted to get it, but it did look like a clean retest.
Yeah. And that's what I was telling Gabriel too. I was so focused on watching how the aggression came in that I completely disregarded that we were bouncing off limit orders here. So I also was focused on something else rather than like the big picture.
On this type of setup, because
But
it's testing those lows. Like, would the stop just be underneath the limit orders?
yeah, so like 55, your entry was like 58. So 3, 4 points.
And on this type of trade, well, I guess, are you catching the immediate bounce, or that would just be like a sniper right there? You'd probably catch it a little late after the bounce. Not a little late, but like a point or two off.
This right here,
Yeah.
I was focused on getting in about 58, like around here. Because I mean, you could get in on this, but I'd still be a little weary of it. Um, so most of the time, I tend to get in about 3, 4 points away from the actual test of the limit orders.
Because I wonder sometimes if it'll be that
And then
type
that
of.
also go for it.
I was gonna say, I wonder if it'll. So it isn't our setup if it would have broken those limit orders and then reversed, and then like maybe stop you out. Like it should
Like
have.
stop hunt?
If it
Yeah.
broke these limit orders and then popped up, I would want to see a reclaim at that point.
Of what price?
So I would want to get in like how this is occurring here. The bounce and then it holds here. I would want to get in like on a rally up here because once it breaks those limit orders, that becomes sketchy because now where am I setting my stop? Because it broke those limit orders, it could come back down.
But then what would be your stop after that?
If it were a valid sweep and then it reclaims, usually when it reclaims, there'll be limit orders sitting around here.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think Gabriel even mentioned this, like at that point it becomes a shallow pullback.
Yeah.
So you would kind of have to adjust because yeah, once it especially like okay, it tested these limit orders. When it does this kind of thing, because this is basically sweeping under the limit orders, it hits the limit orders, it sweeps under it slightly, and then pops. I'm still open to this as long as the limit orders reappear. To me, this is the area that I want the limit orders to be at on the second bounce. But if on the second bounce it breaks the limit orders, now I'm a little sketched out and I don't want to get in just because it gets back above. I would want it to aggressively push back above demand.
Yeah. That makes sense.
On A plus setups, do those tend to be bigger moves, or are those still? Would you consider them get in and out trades? Like, could there be a get in and out trade on an A plus setup?
Yeah, like at a 45-minute demand.
Yeah.
Like a 4 hour, 2 hour, those are where you can and then also paying attention to where the zone is contextually. Like if you zoom out and 4 hour demand is somewhere that is like a super strong level of support previously, then those are the kind of areas you would want to expect a larger move, 15, 20 points. But when it's just like a 45-minute demand, an A plus setup could appear, but don't expect like a crazy rally out of it. Because if it's a true institutional level of support, then most likely it's going to have a higher time frame zone. That's how I'm personally viewing it right now. But I mean, I also don't have. I may be wrong. That's just my just my thought process on it.
That's what chat tells you.
That's what Chad said.
Chat said I might be wrong. Fuck. Nah, that makes sense though.
Yeah, just because lower time frame zones, like, why wouldn't, if it's a true level of support, why wouldn't it be have a higher time frame there?
Also, if it breaks the limit orders and comes back above the limit orders, it's probably not going to be a big enough rally to justify an entry anyway. You think?
Say that again. I was trying to process what you said.
So if the aggressive selling breaks the limit orders on the second pullback and comes
Yeah.
back above the limit orders, it most likely is not going to be a significant rally enough to be like, okay, buyers are here again to justify an entry.
True. Unless it's super aggressive, like something like, obviously this isn't a demand zone, but if it's like bubbles are crazy strong, like this kind of reaction here wouldn't be like the size of the bubbles can be something too um I'm too quick to be like, oh, this could be a good reaction. But if it was like super duper strong bubbles, then that could be a signal that buyers are really strong. And all it did was sweep the lows real quick before to get more liquidity to buy up.
Oh, that's true.
Um,
Yeah,
but
that shit makes
the
stink.
yeah, it takes we just got to keep watching these setups appear.
Yep.
But the whole thing I was trying to before you got on, Eloy, was like I know yesterday we were like talking a lot about shallow pullbacks, but my thing is like even Gabriel mentioned it, like although we do see shallow pullbacks more, I think I even said this yesterday, we do see shallow pullbacks more, maybe more often. The probabilities of them working out are lower than a A plus setup. So if you're just patient for that A plus setup, which this week it didn't appear until the last day of the week, um, you don't have to be taking shallow pullbacks. You can just wait for that one A setup, A plus setup of the week. It's just going to require one being patient, and when it does start to appear, being able to be aware of it appearing. Like obviously, this yesterday, I would say I wasn't skilled enough to be ready to take that. But if I were to see this again, I think I'd be ready to take it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the charts for this trade. And what would your target be? Because I see after it goes on a crazy rally,
Mm.
I don't know what significant it hits, and it comes back before hitting pre-market low.
So that's what I was telling Gabriel too. That was one thing that made me sketched out about it, about labeling it A plus initially when I was reviewing it, because I was like, damn, my target would have been pre-market low here, which is about 20 points, but it rejects at this 64.72 area. So I would say you make pre-market lows your main target, but then be aware of where these two LVNs are here and be aware that it could reject at these LVNs potentially if buyers aren't ready to keep pushing this higher here.
Dang, you're zoomed out a lot on the. Are you looking at the trade like this?
I asked him that
Uh,
too.
Yeah, like
so once I remember yesterday I told you once I'm in the trade, I zoom out.
yeah.
So that's especially because I want to make sure like what I'm targeting is not too wishful thinking. Like I want to be aware of like where's areas of resistance that I could get trapped at. So once I'm in the trade, I tend to zoom out a bit because I already have set my stop. So it doesn't even really matter for me to be like me micromanaging the trade zoomed in super crazy is kind of pointless because I have my stop already. If it hits, I'm getting stopped out no matter what. If it pulls back, as long as it doesn't hit my stop, like I'm still in it. So at that point, I could zoom out and be like, all right, I have this area of resistance at 67. We got this outlier that we could struggle at. Once we get above that, then we have to get above this 72 area. And then after that, then we can see if this pre-market low hits. But then I was telling Gabriel, because we didn't get to see it when you were here, it does end up rejecting, and I'd be shitting it on this rejection here. This one.
But if you
I'm
have a
kind of
20-point target, shouldn't you have more risk?
say that again.
If you have a 20-point target, shouldn't you have more risk on your stop?
You can.
I mean, yeah, you can, but
You can have a 10-point target and it'll be a 1.2 ratio.
I'm not really trying to put my stop wider than, honestly, wider than 4, 5 points. 5 points is pushing it for me. That's painful if I see that I have to put my stop at 5.
Yeah, you're trying to be
Yeah, it's all about how much you can tolerate losing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're really trying to be that sniper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because even Carmine in his
God.
lectures would say it's
$40
impossible
loan.
to reach the bottom. Like that'd be ideal if you'd always reach the bottom. I mean, if you always get in at the bottom, but usually the bottom happens, and then you have to figure out when to get in after that.
I know.
So
That's why you got to be 100% like confident that you're seeing the aggression happen to the upside if you're taking longs.
And that's the main reason why I like this absorption concept a lot, where it has to retest the limit orders, because that's what really allows me to have a good stop, where my stop isn't 5 to 6 points, or I have to like guess like, oh, where do I put my stop? Because once we bounce off these limit orders and then retest the limit orders again, and then that's where the bounce occurs, I can safely and comfortably put my stop under the limit order.
Yeah.
And that's what also was why I partially felt comfortable taking the trade where it was in balance the other day, was that I had those limit orders to use as these limit orders here as my buffer here. So it was like, okay, like accept that if we break above these limit orders, like it just is what it is. You're gonna get stopped out. I just feel like I can have a tighter a tighter stop once it retests those limit orders. But if those limit orders aren't there and it just retests the zone, then I'm starting to think like, oh, I have to put my stop above 66.12, above 66.13, and that starts to make me stress on the trade. But when it retests those same limit orders, I'm like, okay, this is a safe zone where I can just set my stop under here.
oh man, I want to be rich
Yeah.
already.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And then the other thing was, Gabriel had said like, what would you tell Eloy if he took a shallow pullback, or if Gabriel took, or if I took a shallow pullback? And my whole thing is like, I'm not saying don't take shallow pullbacks. I'm just saying be aware of the setup that you are taking. Because like on this trade, I remember you had mentioned these limit orders here, and then you mentioned like you were using this area to label it as an absorption setup. But my whole thing is you want to see what's that last limit order it hit, which was these 66.85s, and then you calculate how far it's gone down. So in this case it was 11 points, and now either you're waiting for that retest of these limit orders up here, or if you're going to take the shallow pullback, it would be right here as long as CBD is confirming something for you. In this case, it was. But my whole the reason I'm even bringing this up is just being aware of what setup you're taking, and knowing that if you are taking a shallow pullback, it's a lower probability. Not that it won't work, and not that you shouldn't take it. It's just a lower probability.
Yeah, you'll definitely say something though.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
That's not A plus while you're over here throwing darts in the dark.
We're all gonna, even after this conversation, we're all still gonna take stupid ass trades. We all know it.
Yep.
As long as we are aware of what we're taking, then fuck it, do it.
Yeah.
If you
Or
feel
else
comfortable
chat's gonna
taking a trade,
either
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you or chat's gonna tell you.
because Eric's putting that trade in chat, man.
Yep,
I started
exactly.
doing it. I started saying, "What did Eric see here?" That's why I sent him that message, and he was like, "Nah, that's cap." Look what chat said, bro.
Oh man.
But yeah, I think what we just went over was the A plus or the A setup of the week. It was at the lower ranges of the zone of the lower portion of the range, and then that shallow pullback I'd say is like the B setup of the week. Other than that, I didn't really see anything else.
Yes, you should either. We mostly consolidated for like 2 days, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Something.
yeah, here it is. So this is Monday, that rally from Trump, and then we created this supply zone, the 90-minute. We chopped inside on Tuesday. Wednesday, we did that shallow pullback. Thursday, there wasn't much. We just consolidated in here. And then, or actually, at the end of the day, we finally hit this 4-hour demand. And then Friday, we bounced off this 64.60 here. So really, we were just range bound for a larger portion of the week.
Yeah, nothing much happened, that's for sure.
So that's all I got for y'all. I'm about to go get drunk now. Hopefully, I remember all this.
Okay. You got half of a recording from yesterday.
Yeah, I just posted it on the main chat, Gabe. If you want to see that video,
Yeah, I just saw it. I'm gonna check it out.
tight.
All right, good. All right, happy birthday, Eric, you fucking old
Happy
bastard.
birthday, E
Thank
Rocks.
Appreciate it. Hopefully, we get rich.
Hopefully this year, next year.
I know it's coming. All right, I'm out.